Grand Theft Auto 3 stands as one of the most influential and groundbreaking video games in history of the world. Developed by Rockstar Games and released in October 2001, Grand Theft Auto 3 was the first installment in the series to transition from top-down 2D perspective of its predecessors to fully realized 3D open-world environment. This shift not only redefined the Grand Theft Auto franchise but also set a new standard for the gaming industry at large. However, Grand Theft Auto 3 was not just a technical achievement, it also sparked considerable controversy due to its depiction of violence, crime and mature themes. The game quickly became a focal point in debate over influence of video games on society, with many arguing that its graphic content could have negative effects on players, particularly younger audiences.
There is nothing new about worrying over the impact of media on children. One generation of adults after another has viewed with alarm and risen with righteous indignation over the potential damaging effects of violent comic books, rock and roll music, graphic movies, obscene lyrics, not to mention the wholesale impact of the internet and all that's contained within. But of all the worrisome materials swirling about out there, Grand Theft Auto 3, one of the most popular, technically sophisticated, and graphic video games ever designed, may have given our generation of adults something new to worry about. Since it was released 9 months ago, Grand Theft Auto 3 has sold 3.5 million copies at $50 per. It carries a rating of M for mature audience, indicating that its content is unsuitable for persons under 17. But that, of course, has only made it more tantalizing to teens under that age. And hundreds of thousands of them have apparently had no trouble finding an adult to purchase the game for them. What does it do? Well, it puts the player in the assumed role of an escaped convict trying to work his way up the ladder in the world of organized crime and gang warfare. It is, as Michel Norris now reports, just the sort of game you'd like your 13-year-old to get his hands on.
In the upstairs bedroom of this upstate New York home, a group of 13-year-old boys is carrying out a reign of terror on screen.
Oh man, this is bad.
That would put them on the nation's most wanted list in real life.
It's my general object of this game. Kill as many people as you can, get as many stars as you can.
They're deep into a video game called Grand Theft Auto 3, where players assume the role of an escaped convict who hijacks cars, guns down pedestrians,
Aw, dude.
has sex with a prostitute,
Want me to shoot her? Yes.
then earns extra points by killing her so he can snatch back his money.
It's as close as you can get to killing someone without being arrested or really killing someone.
This controversy only served to increase the game's notoriety and solidify its place in the popular culture. The cultural impact of Grand Theft Auto 3 cannot be overstated. It was a commercial success, selling millions of copies worldwide.
The technical wizardry has attracted loyal fans, but the graphic violence has attracted angry critics. Denounced by Congress here in the U.S., the game has been outlawed in Australia, and several other countries are also considering bans. Despite, or perhaps because of such complaints, Grand Theft Auto 3 is the nation's top-selling video game this year, and a particularly big hit with teenage boys.
And receiving critical acclaim for its innovation and ambition. The game won numerous awards, including several Game of the Year honors, and it is widely regarded as one of the greatest video games ever made.
Really amazing. It's amazing stuff.
Beyond its immediate success, Grand Theft Auto 3 laid the groundwork for the future entries in the Grand Theft Auto series, each of which will build on the foundation it established. In this comprehensive retrospective, we will explore the various facets of Grand Theft Auto 3, from its gameplay mechanics and narrative depth to its technical achievements and cultural legacy. We will examine how Rockstar Games crafted a world that was not only visually and mechanically impressive, but also rich in atmosphere and storytelling. The game is set in a fictional Liberty City, a sprawling urban environment inspired by New York City. The story follows Cloud, a silent protagonist who is betrayed by his girlfriend Catalina and left for dead during a bank robbery. After surviving the betrayal, Cloud embarks on quest for revenge, climbing the ranks of the criminal underworld in Liberty City. Cloud works for various crime lords and gangs, including the Mafia, Yakuza, and Colombian Cartel, taking on missions that involve everything from assassinations to car chases, thefts, and more. The plot unfolds through a series of missions that blend violence, crime, and corruption, offering a dark and gritty portrayal of life in crime-ridden city. The writing in Grand Theft Auto 3 is characterized by its dark humor, satirical tone, and irreverent social commentary. The game lampoons various aspects of American culture, including politics, the media, the consumerism. The dialogue is sharp and often laced with cynicism, creating a world that feels both over the top and grounded in its depiction of criminal life. The narrative is non-linear, with players having the freedom to complete missions at their own pace or explore the city to engage in side activities. This open-world structure was revolutionary at the time, allowing players to interact with the environment in unprecedented ways. The game's story is primarily driven by interactions Cloud has with various eccentric and morally dubious characters, each contributing to the overarching theme of betrayal, ambition, and survival. Cloud's silence as protagonist adds a unique layer to the storytelling, allowing players to project their own interpretations onto his character, while also emphasizing his role as an outsider in chaotic world of Liberty City. This design choice also makes the game's narrative more focused on the world and characters around Cloud rather than his personal development. The game is set in a fictional city called Liberty City, which is heavily inspired by New York City. Liberty City is divided into 3 main islands, each representing different parts of the real New York City. First island is Portland Island, which represents the industrial areas and working-class neighborhoods. It also contains factories, docks, and run-down urban areas. Staunton Island is the second island of Liberty City, and it represents the commercial and financial districts. It is home to skyscrapers, parks, and higher-class neighborhoods. Shoreside Vale is third and final island you unlock when you play through the game's main story. Shoreside Vale represents the suburbs and more affluent areas as well as city's airport. It has a mix of residential areas, a dam, and the Francis International Airport. The atmosphere and aesthetic of Liberty City is depicted as a gritty, crime-ridden metropolis. The game's atmosphere is dark and dystopian, filled with corruption, gang violence, and criminal activities. Grand Theft Auto 3 also features a dynamic day and night cycle, which affects the lighting and atmosphere in the city. Game also includes different weather conditions like rain and fog, adding to the realism and mood of the city. Liberty City also has a wide variety of NPCs like random pedestrians, police officers, and gang members. There are several gangs in the city, each controlling different territories and engaging in turf wars. Key gangs include the Leon family, the Triads, and the Yakuza. Grand Theft Auto 3 was a technical marvel for its time, pushing the limits of PlayStation 2 hardware. The game featured a large, seamless world with minimal loading times, advanced physics, and dynamic weather effects. The lighting effects such as glow of street lights at night or reflections on wet pavement were also impressive for the era. The game adopts a semi-realistic art style with exaggerated proportions and somewhat cartoonish look that complements the game's dark humor and over-the-top action. The color palette is generally muted, with lots of grays and browns, enhancing the gritty and depressive atmosphere of Liberty City. The character models, while basic by today's standards, were detailed for the time. The protagonist, Cloud, and other characters are rendered in 3D with simple facial features and animations. The sound design in Grand Theft Auto 3 is notable for its ambient sounds that bring Liberty City to life. The bustling noises of city, the chatter of pedestrians, The honking of horns and the sounds of gunfire and explosions all contribute to the game's atmosphere. The voice acting, although limited for the protagonist, is memorable, with various characters delivering iconic lines that have since become a part of gaming culture.
McCaffrey! He took more bribes than anyone. He thinks he's gonna get an honorable discharge if he turns dead evidence. He just squealed.
One of the most iconic features of Grand Theft Auto 3 is its in-game radio stations. Players can listen to different radio stations while driving, each featuring its own unique genre of music, DJs and commercials. This added a layer of immersion and variety to the gameplay. The stations cover a broad range of music genres, including hip-hop, classical, rock, reggae and electronic. There's also a talk radio station that features humorous and satirical content.
Now, can you tell me what this Australian-American War was? I mean, I really never heard of it.
God, not another one. Have you read a history book lately, son? The Australian-American War was the biggest war since the big. I tell you, I did 2 tours and take boomerang shrapnel in my head. So I can...
While later Grand Theft Auto games became known for their extensive use of licensed tracks, Grand Theft Auto 3 primarily features original music composed for the game, along with few licensed tracks that fit the game's tune. The use of in-game radio stations became a staple in Grand Theft Auto series and was expanded in later games with even more licensed music, making it one of the defining features of the franchise. Grand Theft Auto 3 grants almost complete freedom to the players to navigate Liberty City at their own pace. Unlike many games of that era that guided players through a linear path, Grand Theft Auto 3 allows for non-linear exploration where players can engage in missions or simply wander the city, interacting with its environment in various ways. This sense of freedom was groundbreaking at the time and has become staple of the open world genre. Vehicles are integral to the gameplay experience in Grand Theft Auto 3, providing not only a means of transportation but also a tool for combat and exploration. The game features a wide array of vehicles, each with its own handling, speed, durability, characteristics. These range from everyday sedans and sport cars to trucks and even emergency vehicles like ambulances and police cars. Players can hijack almost any vehicle they come across, adding to the game's sense of freedom and unpredictability. Driving mechanics of Grand Theft Auto 3 were among the most advanced at the time, offering a balance between realism and arcade-style fun. Different vehicles handled differently, with factors such as fate, acceleration, and traction influencing their performance. Sports cars, for example, are fast and nimble, but prone to damage, while heavier vehicles like trucks are slower but more durable. This variety encourages players to choose vehicles that best suit their current objectives, whenever it's high-speed chase, a ramming mission, or simply getting from point A to point B quickly. In addition to standard vehicles, the game also includes a variety of special vehicles such as dodo plane, boats, and tanks. These add a layer of complexity to the gameplay, allowing for missions and exploration that go beyond confines of Liberty City's streets. For example, the dodo plane, though notoriously difficult to control, can be used for aerial exploration, while boats allow players to traverse the city's waterways. Combat in Grand Theft Auto 3's core gameplay component, blending third-person shooting mechanics with melee combat. Players can engage in combat with both NPCs and law enforcement using a variety of weapons. The game offers a range of firearms, from basic pistol to more powerful weapons like shotguns, assault rifles, and even rocket launchers. Each weapon has its own characteristics in terms of damage, rate of fire, and accuracy. The combat system in Grand Theft Auto 3, while not as refined as in later titles, introduced players to chaotic and often unpredictable experience. Game features lock-on targeting system, which allows players to focus on single enemy at a time during firefights. True, it can sometimes be clunky, especially in tight spaces or when surrounded by multiple enemies. The game's funded level system ties directly into combat, with police forces escalating their response based on players' actions. Starting with basic patrol officers, the law enforcement presence becomes more intense as the player's wanted level increases, eventually involving SWAT teams, FBI agents, and even the military. Grand Theft Auto 3 is known for its clunky controls, especially for aiming and shooting. The lack of a refined targeting system makes the combat feel frustrating, and it makes some missions harder than they actually are. Grand Theft Auto 3 also has pretty rudimentary mission design. Most missions are repetitive, with many tasks involving basic wedge quests, escort missions, or simply go to place X and kill person A and mission done. The game also sometimes artificially increases difficulty by spawning enemies in unfair locations or giving them pinpoint accuracy, leading to the frustration in certain missions. The police in the game can also be overly aggressive and sometimes act unpredictably, making it difficult to escape or complete missions without constantly getting into the high-speed chases. Grand Theft Auto 3 also doesn't have checkpoint system, meaning that failing a mission forces you to restart from beginning of that mission, which is time-consuming and frustrating, especially if you have drive a long way back to the mission giver. Also, vehicle handling in Grand Theft Auto 3 is pretty unwieldy, with cars feeling heavy and difficult to control, especially during high-speed chases or sequences that need precision driving. Grand Theft Auto 3 is notorious for its difficulty, especially in some missions. The missions on Grand Theft Auto 3 range from relatively straightforward tasks like delivering packages to more complex multi-step operations involving timed sequences, combat, and vehicle maneuvers. Early missions are generally easier, serving as tutorial for the game's mechanics. However, as the game progresses, the missions become far more challenging and unforgiving. Some missions are infamous for their difficulties, such as Bomb the Base Act 2, which requires extreme precision sniping, and Espresso Do Go, which involves a tight time limit to destroy several coffee stands scattered across the map. And as previously mentioned, one of the main challenges of Grand Theft Auto 3 is the lack of checkpoints within missions. If you fail a mission, you must restart it from the beginning, which is frustrating, especially for longer or more difficult missions. The combat in Grand Theft Auto 3 is relatively simple yet difficult compared to modern games, with basic aiming and shooting controls. However, the simplicity can also add to the challenge, as there is no cover system and aiming feels imprecise. AI also is somewhat rudimentary, but encounters with enemies can still be challenging due to their aggression and numbers, particularly in later missions where you're often outnumbered. The story of Grand Theft Auto 3 is gritty betrayal, revenge, and survival within the criminal underworld of Liberty City. Set in year 2001, the game follows the silent protagonist Claude as he navigates through a world filled with crime, corruption, and moral ambiguity. At the heart of the story is Claude's quest for revenge against his former girlfriend and partner in crime, Catalina, who betrays him during a bank heist at the beginning of the game. The prologue sets the stage with dramatic double cross. Claude and Catalina, along with their accomplice Miguel, successfully rob a bank. However, as they make their escape, Catalina shoots Claude and leaves him for dead, fleeing with the money and Miguel. Claude is arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison, but during his transfer to a prison, a daring escape orchestrated by a Colombian cartel allows him to break free. Now a fugitive, Claude finds himself in seedy underbelly of Liberty City, where he begins working for various crime syndicates to survive and plot his revenge against Catalina. The story unfolds as Claude climbs the ranks of the criminal hierarchy, taking on jobs for different factions and different people, each with its own agenda and moral code. The narrative in Grand Theft Auto 3 is delivered through a combination of in-game cutscenes, mission briefings, and players' interactions with the world. The story's dark and often satirical tone reflects Rockstar Games' penchant for social commentary, touching on themes such as the corrupting influence of power, the cyclical nature of violence, and moral decay of urban life. Liberty City serves as perfect backdrop for this story, its crime streets and morally bankrupt inhabitants reinforcing the game's bleak outlook on humanity. Claude, the game's protagonist, is man of no words. Throughout the entirety of Grand Theft Auto 3, Claude remains mute. His motivations and thoughts are left entirely to the player's interpretation. This silent protagonist approach was deliberately chosen by Rockstar Games, allowing players to project their own personality and decisions onto Claude. His silence makes him an enigmatic figure, further enhancing the game's dark and detached atmosphere. Claude's lack of dialogue sets him apart from vocal protagonists in later Grand Theft Auto games, like Tommy Vercetti in Vice City or CJ in San Andreas. While this might initially seem like limitation, it actually serves to make Claude a more versatile character in context of game's open world design. His silence allows him to seamlessly fit into the diverse and chaotic world of Liberty City, where actions speak louder than words. Despite his lack of speech, Claude's actions throughout the game reveal much about his character. He is ruthlessly efficient, willing to commit any crime or take any life to achieve his goals. This relentless drive for revenge is central force behind his journey through the criminal underworld.
I see nothing but good things for you, my boy.
As players guide Claude through various missions, they shape his identity, whenever as a loyal enforcer, a gunning strategist, or cold-blooded killer. Claude's design, with his dark clothing and stoic demeanor, reflects the game's overall aesthetic of urban decay and moral ambiguity. He is blank slate in many ways, a vessel through which player experiences the harsh realities of Liberty City. This design choice ultimately makes Claude a unique and memorable protagonist, standing out in a game where world and characters around him are loud, brash, and full of personality. The world of Grand Theft Auto 3 is populated by a colorful cast of supporting characters, each representing different facets of Liberty City's criminal ecosystem. These characters range from mafia bosses and corrupt officials to the small-time crooks and double-crossing partners. Each character brings their own brand of chaos to the story, influencing Claude's journey and the missions he undertakes. Catalina serves as the primary antagonist of the game, a cunning and ruthless criminal. She is catalyst for Claude's quest for revenge. Catalina's betrayal is the driving force behind the game's plot, and her character embodies the themes of treachery and ambition. Throughout the game, she remains elusive, taunting Claude from afar and aligning herself with powerful criminal organizations like Colombian Cartel. Her ultimate fate is left in the hands of Claude during game's climax, but her presence looms large over the entire narrative. Salvatore is the head of Leon crime family, one of the most powerful and influential criminal organizations in Liberty City. As a stereotypical mafia don, Salvatore is both charismatic and ruthless, running his empire with iron fist. He initially employs Claude as a hitman and enforcer, trusting him to carry out dangerous jobs for the family. However, Salvatore's paranoia and mistrust eventually leads him to turn on Claude, setting up one of the game's pivotal betrayals. His character is not the classic mobster films, and his volatile nature adds tension and unpredictability to the story. Asuka is a prominent member of Yakuza, a powerful Japanese crime syndicate operating in Liberty City. She becomes one of Claude's key allies, offering him sanctuary and employment after his fallout with Leon family. Asuka is a complex character, blending loyalty with cold, calculating approach to business. She is instrumental in Claude's ascent within the criminal underworld, assigning him a series of missions that further entangle him in the city's gang wars. Asuka's relationship with Claude is one of mutual respect, but like many characters in Grand Theft Auto 3, she is not immune to the brutal realities of their world. Ray is a corrupt cop with deep ties to the criminal underworld, paranoia and constantly looking over his shoulder. Ray employs Claude to eliminate his enemies and cover up his illicit activities. His character is emblematic of pervasive corruption within Liberty City, blurring the lines between law enforcement and criminality. Ray's missions are some of the most dangerous and morally ambiguous in the game, highlighting the complexities of survival in the city where everyone has a price. Donald is wealthy media mogul and real estate tycoon with a penchant for manipulating the city's politics and economy for his own gain. He is one of the more eccentric characters in the game, offering Claude missions that range from mundane to the downright bizarre. Donald's interactions with Claude reveal the darker side of Liberty City's elite, where power and greed dictates every move. His character adds a satirical edge to the game, poking fun at the excesses of the rich and powerful. Genji is Asuka's brother and another key figure in the Yakuza. Unlike his sister, Genji is more traditional and honor-bound, adhering to the codes of Yakuza with strict discipline. He entrusts Claude with several important tasks, believing him to be a valuable asset to the Yakuza. Genji's character represents the conflict between old world traditions and the ruthless modernity of Liberty City. His fate in the game is a tragic one, reflecting the inevitable clashes that arise in the criminal underworld. A high-ranking member of Leon crime family, Tony Cipriani, is a loyal lieutenant to Salvatore Leon. Tony assigns Claude various tasks to strengthen the Leon family's grip on Liberty City, from eliminating rival gang members to enforcing the family's will. Tony's character is tough and no-nonsense, with a deep sense of loyalty to the Leon family. He serves as bridge between Claude and Salvatore, but his unwavering loyalty also makes him blind to the treachery brewing within the family. The mission structure in Grand Theft Auto 3 is integral to the unfolding of game story. Missions are given to Cloud by various characters, each with their own motives and agendas. With these missions range from simple tasks such as collecting a package or delivering a message, to complex operations involving assassinations, heists, and large-scale gang wars. As players complete missions, they unlock new parts of Liberty City and gain access to more powerful weapons, vehicles, and allies. The game's story progression is non-linear, allowing players to choose which missions to tackle first and how to approach them. This flexibility in mission order gives players a sense of control over the narrative, making the story feel more personal and dynamic. The game also includes a variety of side missions and activities that, while not directly tied to the main storyline, help to flesh out the world and characters. These side missions often involve helping or hindering various factions within the city, and they provide additional context for the power struggles and alliances that define Liberty City's criminal landscape. One of the most memorable aspects of Grand Theft Auto 3's mission design is the way it blends narrative with gameplay. Each mission is crafted to advance the story while providing unique gameplay challenges. Whether it's a high-speed chase through the city streets, a stealthy infiltration of an enemy compound, or chaotic shootout with rival gang members, the missions are designed to keep players engaged and invested in Cloud's journey. The story's pacing is largely determined by players' choices, allowing for a mix of intense action and quieter moments of exploration. This pacing is crucial in building tension and anticipation, leading to climactic moments where the story's stakes are at their highest. The culmination of the story's final showdown between Claude and Catalina, bringing the narrative full circle and providing a satisfying conclusion to Claude's quest for revenge. Grand Theft Auto 3 is renowned for its dark, depressing and satirical tone and its exploration of themes related to crime, corruption and human condition. The game's narrative is infused with sense of cynicism, where the line between right and wrong is often blurred, and the pursuit of power and revenge leads to moral compromise and personal loss. One of the central themes of the game is corrupting influence of power. Throughout the story, players encounter characters who have been twisted by their thirst for control and domination, whether it's mafia dons like Salvatore Leone, corrupt cops like Ray Machowski, or manipulative tycoons like Donald Love. The game portrays power as both a seductive and destructive force, capable of consuming those who seek it. Another prominent theme is cyclical nature of violence. Liberty City is depicted as a place where violence begets violence, and where revenge often leads to further bloodshed. Cloud's journey is testament to this, as his pursuit of Catalina and fulfillment of various criminal contracts result in never-ending cycle of betrayal and retribution. The game suggests that in the world as corrupt as Liberty City, violence is an inescapable reality, and those who live by the gun often die by it. The tone of Grand Theft Auto 3 is heavily influenced by its setting, with Liberty City serving as a reflection of the worst aspects of urban life. The city is depicted as a place of moral decay, where the pursuit of money and power trumps all other considerations. The game's humor, often satirical and dark, serves to highlight the absurdity of this world, poking fun at everything from corporate greed to the media's obsession with sensationalism. Rockstar Games also uses story to comment on broader societal issues, albeit in a tongue-in-cheek manner. Through its characters and situations, the game critiques the hypocrisy of establishment, the hollowness of American dream, and pervasive nature of corruption in society. These themes, combined with the game's uncompromising tone, make Grand Theft Auto 3 not just a groundbreaking video game, but also a piece of cultural commentary. The storytelling in Grand Theft Auto 3 set a new standard for video game narratives, influencing countless titles in the years to come. The game's approach to character development, mission structure, and thematic depth helped elevate video game storytelling to new heights, proving that games could offer complex, mature narratives that rival those found in films and literature. One of the most significant legacies of Grand Theft Auto 3's story is its impact on open-world genre. The game demonstrated that open-world games could tell compelling stories without sacrificing player freedom. Cloud's role as silent protagonist also left a lasting impression on game design, showing that a character doesn't need to be vocal to be impactful. This design choice allowed players to immerse themselves fully in the world and story, making the experience deeply personal. It also paved the way for other silent or minimally vocal protagonists in games, such as player characters in Fallout series or Souls games. The game's thematic content dealing with issues like corruption, power, and the consequences of violence showed that video games could tackle serious adult themes in a way that both entertaining and thought-provoking. This approach encouraged other developers to explore more complex and mature themes in their own narratives, contributing to the evolution of video games as legitimate form of storytelling art. In summary, the story and characters of Grand Theft Auto 3 are not only central to its success, but also instrumental in shaping the future of video game narratives. The game's dark, satirical tone, its exploration of complex themes, and its innovative approach to storytelling have left an indelible mark on the gaming industry, making it a landmark title in the history of video games. In Grand Theft Auto 3, side activities play a crucial role in expanding the player's experience beyond the main storyline. These optional tasks and mini-games provide variety, depth, and additional challenges, offering players the freedom to explore Liberty City in different ways. By engaging in these activities, players can earn money, unlock rewards, and discover new aspects of the game's world and characters. The inclusion of side activities was one of the many innovations that helped Grand Theft Auto 3 establish the open world genre, setting the stage for even more elaborate and diverse gameplay options in future titles. One of the most prominent categories of side activities Grand Theft Auto 3 revolves around use of vehicles. Given the game's focus on driving and vast explorable city of Liberty City, it's no surprise that many of these activities are tied to specific vehicles or driving-related challenges. Players can assume role of taxi driver by entering any available taxi cab and activating the side mission. In this mode, players are tasked with picking up and dropping off passengers within a set time limit. The faster and more efficient you transport passengers, the more money you earn. Taxi missions offer a change of pace from game's criminal activities, focusing instead on navigating the city streets and racing against the clock. Completing a set number of these missions rewards players with vehicle upgrades and bonuses such as jump ability for the taxi. Similar to the taxi missions, paramedic missions allow players to become paramedic. By commandeering an ambulance, players can pick up injured civilians scattered throughout the city and transport them to the hospital. These missions introduce layers of challenges as players must manage both the time limit and ambulance's health, avoiding crashes that could result in mission failure. Successfully completing a series of ambulance missions grants players increased health and stamina, providing tangible benefits that can aid them in the main story missions. Vigilante missions put players in the role of self-styled crime fighter, typically using a police car or other law enforcement vehicles. The objective is to hunt down and eliminate criminals who appear on the map. These missions are fun inversion of typical gameplay, where players are usually the ones committing crimes. The challenge in vigilante missions come from balancing the pursuit of criminals with managing the vehicle's damage and ammunition. Completing these missions increase players' criminal notoriety and provides access to police-related bonuses such as increased body armor. Taking on the role of firefighter, players can enter a fire truck and extinguish fires around the city. This side activity challenges players to navigate Liberty City's streets quickly while dousing fires before they spread or cause further damage. The missions require precise driving and quick reflexes, especially when their fire is in difficult to reach location. Completing a series of firefighter missions results in the player becoming immune to fire, a useful perk for a certain high-risk missions in the main story. Scattered throughout Liberty City are garages that players can deliver specific vehicles to in exchange for cash rewards. These garages typically have shopping lists of vehicles, which can range from common cars to rare, hard-to-find models. This activity encourages players to explore the city and become familiar with various vehicles available. The import-export garages add a layer of strategy to the game, as players must decide when to abandon a vehicle they find during mission to complete the lists. Completing these lists not only provides financial rewards but also unlocks special vehicles for players' use. Collectibles in Grand Theft Auto 3 add another dimension to exploration. Perhaps the most well-known collectible in Grand Theft Auto 3 is the hidden packages. There are 100 hidden packages scattered across the city, often placed in hard-to-reach or obscure locations. Finding these packages not only provides the player with cash rewards, but also unlocks weapons and power-ups at the player's safe house as they reach certain milestones. These serve as a rewarding side activity for completionists. Rampages are challenges that task players with using a specific weapon to kill a set number of enemies within a time limit. These are usually gang members from various factions in Liberty City. Each rampage is marked by a skull icon, and there are multiple rampages to complete throughout the game. Successfully completing the rampages rewards players with cash and contributes to 100% game completion. Stunt jumps are another form of collectible, where players must locate and successfully complete specific jumps around the city. These jumps often involve launching a vehicle off a ramp or elevated surface to clear a gap or perform a mid-air stunt. Completing all the stunt jumps in the game is challenging, requiring precise timing and vehicle control. Like hidden packages, completing stunt jumps contributes to the game completion and yields cash rewards. Aside from vehicle-based activities and collectibles, Grand Theft Auto 3 offers a variety of side missions and jobs that provide additional content and challenge. RC Toy missions involve controlling a remote-controlled car armed with explosives to destroy target, usually groups of vehicles. Players can find these missions by locating vans marked RC Toys scattered around the city. The missions are timed and require players to navigate the RC car through busy streets to reach the targets before clock runs out. RC Toys missions offer a unique gameplay experience, adding variety to the side activities. Throughout Liberty City, there are phone foods where players can receive contracts to complete various jobs. These missions are typically given by mysterious or anonymous figures and involves a range of tasks from assassination to sabotage. The phone food missions are often more challenging than regular story missions. These missions add depth to the game's narrative as they often involve more complex plots and morally ambiguous decisions. For players aiming at 100% completion of Grand Theft Auto 3, engaging in side activities is essential. Achieving full completion requires players to finish all side missions, find all collectibles, and complete all challenges, in addition to the main story. The sense of achievement that comes with reaching 100% is a significant draw for many players, as it not only provides bragging rights but also unlocks additional rewards and content. The side activities in Grand Theft Auto 3 set a new standard for open-world games, establishing a blueprint that future titles follow and expand upon. The variety, depth, and integration of these activities into the game world created a richer, more immersive experience that encouraged exploration and experimentation. The success of these side activities in Grand Theft Auto 3 led Rockstar to continue refining and expanding this aspect of gameplay in subsequent entries in the series, such as Grand Theft Auto Vice City and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, where side activities became even more elaborate and varied. Moreover, the impact of Grand Theft Auto 3's side activities can be seen in open-world games that followed. Titles like Saints Row, Assassin's Creed, and Elder Scrolls Skyrim all featured a range of optional tasks and missions that rewards players for exploring the game world. The emphasis on providing a diverse array of side activities has become a hallmark of open world genre, thanks in large part to the groundwork laid by Grand Theft Auto 3. The impact of Grand Theft Auto 3 on the gaming industry cannot be overstated. It not only popularized the open world genre but also demonstrated that video games could be vehicles for complex, mature narratives that tackle themes like crime, corruption, and the human condition. The game's success proved that there was market for games aimed at adult audiences, leading to the creation of more sophisticated and ambitious titles in the years that followed. Developers began to push boundaries of what was possible in video games, both technically and narratively, inspired by examples set by Grand Theft Auto 3. Additionally, Grand Theft Auto 3 set the stage for continuous success of Grand Theft Auto franchise, which has become one of the most successful and influential series in the history of video games. Each subsequent entry in the series has pulled upon foundation laid by Grand Theft Auto 3, further refining and expanding the open world formula. The game's success also cemented Rockstar Games' reputation as a leading developer in the industry, known for pushing the boundaries of what is possible in video games. In conclusion, the Grand Theft Auto 3 is a landmark title that forever changed the landscape of video games. Its innovative gameplay, complex narrative, and immersive open world design set a new standard for the industry and inspired countless other games that followed. The game's legacy is still felt today, as its influence can be seen in the design and development of modern video games across a variety of genres. Anyways, if you got this far into the video, I want to thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I ask you to press that like button. That's all. I hope to see you again in the future. Bye bye.